it's very clear that the royal family have covered up the story. For 15 years, they've tried to suppress it. They've denied it to journalists. They've issued legal threats. They've used strong-arm tactics to prevent, for example, to withhold access to members of the royal family for people who didn't do their bidding. And I know lots and lots of people complained, including former heads of the Foreign Office, intelligence officials, etc., and were sent away with a flea in their ear. So if we are finally getting some transparency and accountability from the royal family, I'd be delighted.
Documents related to Andrew Mountbatten-Windsor's time as a trade envoy have been blocked by the government on health and safety grounds. The police are reviewing whether files shared with Jeffrey Epstein by the former prince would constitute misconduct in a public office. But the government says the disclosure could endanger the physical or mental health or the safety of other individuals involved in operations with Andrew at the time. Andrew has always denied wrongdoing. The man who made the request for those documents to be released is Andrew Lownie, author of the biography of the former Prince Andrew, entitled, and he joins me now. Good afternoon, Andrew.
Good afternoon.
Well, tell us exactly what you wanted to look at and why.
Well, I was very keen to see the files for his time as a trade envoy from 2001 to 2011. Now, some of these files should be in the National Archives under the 20-year rule anyway. None of them were. And of course, what I would find looking at these, and I made requests both to the Foreign Office and the DBT, the Department of Business and Trade, was who was on these trips with Andrew, who did he see, what business did he do? It was to sort of build the picture. And I must have put in, I think, several hundred requests over the last 5 or 6 years to the departments that either are too wide, the requests, and they fail on cost compliance. They will say they don't have files, any files, amazingly, on particular trips. They've used a whole series of exemptions, of which health and safety is one, but also the royal exemption, international relations, law enforcement, you name it. And, you know, clearly I've been given the runaround. And I think these files need to be released for transparency reasons. We need to see who were on these trips. I mean, he was taking his daughters, he was taking Jeffrey Epstein, he was taking David Rowlands, his business associate, and I suspect a whole host of other people, and shoehorning in meetings for them to do their business when he was meant to be promoting British trade.
And I suppose the point is that not only is there an importance of transparency because ultimately public money is at stake in funding the royal family, but also it sort of feeds conspiracy theories, doesn't it, if things are blocked or covered up.
Absolutely. It's one of the reasons why, I believe in freedom of information. Keep what's secret, properly secret. But otherwise, you create this vacuum for fantasists and speculation. And it may be completely innocent. I mean, time and time again, I've had big court battles to get access to documents which prove to be completely innocent. And taxpayers' money has been used to keep this stuff secret. I mean, we live, I'm afraid, in a culture of secrecy and still a very deferential world towards the royal family.
Do you think, you've got a pretty good track record. Do you think you can get hold of these documents?
Yes, I think Parliament, everyone's asking Andrew to go and give evidence to the Senate, but it would be a simple matter for Parliament to ask him to appear in front of a committee. I think, and also I'd get the former heads of UKTI and former ambassadors, none of whom would speak to me, because they know what was going on. Andrew was enabled by a whole network of people. But yes, I hope we can get access to them, that, either through parliamentary or media pressure, the government will realise this looks like a classic cover-up. And if there's nothing to hide there, I'm subject to the normal exemptions, this material should be available. And as I say, it should have been in the National Archives, some of it anyway.
And you're right, there has been this great clamour for former Prince Andrew to go and give evidence to Congress. But I haven't heard anyone call for him to come in front of Parliament. Have I missed it? Has that happened?
Well, I'm always ahead of the game. A lot of the stuff that they're saying is new was actually in my book. This case could have been brought months ago. I had stuff on the case in Iceland, the fact that confidential information was being shared, and no one took any notice. So I have to thank Senate for the new revelation.
Yeah, there is a really powerful leader in the Times today calling for the royal household to agree to an inquiry into its knowledge and handling of the Epstein scandal. Would you welcome that, or is there a risk that an inquiry sort of delays any release of the kind of information that you're looking for?
No, I think, clearly inquiry is important, but it's very clear that the royal family have covered up the story. For 15 years, they've tried to suppress it. They've denied it to journalists. They've issued legal threats. They've used strong arm tactics to prevent, for example, to withhold access to members of the royal family for people who didn't do their bidding. And I know lots and lots of people complained, including former heads of the Foreign Office, intelligence officials, etc., and were sent away with a flea in their ear. So if we are finally getting some transparency and accountability from the royal family, I'd be delighted. We've got the protection officers' logbooks. We must have internal correspondence. Let's make that available to law enforcement.
And I should say that Buckingham Palace has put out a pretty extraordinary statement fairly recently about the sense of shock, really, that at some of the allegations, and very much distancing itself from the former prince, Andrew, if that's possible. But let's talk about another headache for the serving members of the royal family. Prince William's Earthshot Prize has been reported to the Charity Commission over one of its founding partners' alleged links to Jeffrey Epstein. Clearly no allegations of wrongdoing against Prince William, of course, but it's nevertheless embarrassing, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, your previous correspondent was talking about the Epstein shrapnel. But I mean, one of my arguments is the easiest way to penetrate British society is through the royal family, because there's absolutely no scrutiny of them and they can behave exactly as they want. And that's what I've been calling for years. I mean, if they are meant to set an example to the country, that's the whole point of the monarchy. And if we just feel that they've got their noses in the trough and using their royal status to line their own pockets, that's not really going to preserve the monarchy, which is, as a royal monarchist, I believe is the best system that we have, and we should be proud of it.
Well, where does this end up? Because you've described this as the monarchy's Me Too moment. Do you think it will fuel calls for people, from people in the UK to get rid of the monarchy? It's an anachronism. Do you think that those calls will come after all this?
Well, I mean, I'm sure there are calls, and there are lots of calls for the king to step down and let William take over. And clearly we have this anomaly. We don't have hereditary peers, but we have a monarchy. But I think there are easier things. I mean, we could be getting rid of the royal exemption in the FOI. We could have a royal register. We could have the unsealing of royal wills. We could have more parliamentary scrutiny of the royal family. And we could actually just encourage them to behave a little bit better. It's not
We've been trying that for quite a while, though, haven't we?
Well, we have. I mean, but it's the problems they've got are of their own making, partly through their bad behaviour, some of them, but also from their reluctance to address this problem for years.
Andrew, Lownie, thank you very much for joining us.